Hope everyone is doing well. I have been, for the past couple days, I've actually been reading. Well, I should say for the past couple weeks, I actually have been reading. I reread a book that I had read decades ago. My mom had actually read it first, and she told me about it, and I was shocked. I was so intrigued that I ended up reading the entire book that same day. And she didn't believe me. And she actually quizzed me on it, and I got it right. And she was like, "You really read that book?" And I said, "I really did." Before I get into the book, and I have a lot to say about the book, I want to first give shout outs to a few people who have subscribed. And please forgive me again if I do not pronounce these names correctly. Overdue Jaline, Sandra Randall, 30 Kidda Green, Icy Glaze, Lilani, Theron Miller, Linda Lazima, and ETOHPRN, Jessica Rodriguez, Jose Lopez, Cups of Love. I love that name, by the way. K Classy. Thanks you guys for becoming a dog one. I totally appreciate it. So, who doesn't know anything about the Silent Twins? By now, most of us should, but in case you didn't, I'm just going to give a little briefing on the Silent Twins, June and Jennifer Gibbons. I admit, when I first read this book as a teenager, it kind of scared the hell out of me. And I'm so not a teenager anymore, and my perspective on these twins have changed drastically. So, if you're actually interested in it, either get this book or, well, you'll see. I have some great things to say if you don't know already what's going on with the Silent Twins. So I'm going to try to cover as much as I can, kind of quickly. So June and Jennifer Gibbons were born on April 11th, 1963, to Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons. The family would move from the Barbados to the United Kingdom. The family had an older daughter, Greta, born in 1957, and Rosie was born in 1967, and a son, David, was born in 1959. So it was most definitely a house full of children in the Gibbons family household. So in 1974, the Gibbons family had moved to Haverfordwest, Wales. The twins who spoke Bajan Creole, and they spoke it very fast. So, they're West Indian. So on that, and on top of the really quick West Indian accent, it probably was really fast that people could barely understand them. But it was probably even quicker than that. So, and then they probably had a little of their slang at the time with it. So it probably made hard for bystanders to really understand what they're saying. The twins were the only black children in their elementary school, let alone the community. It wasn't many black people there. So June and Jennifer, they were often ostracized because of their skin tone. They was pushed, they was shoved, they was called all types of names. They were made fun of really badly. It was bullying. These twins was bullying, and they had to go through this daily. That's breaking for a lot of the children now. So during the class, they refused to read or write. They would just sit there and not really say anything. The twins was actually let out of school 5 minutes beforehand because the twins would get beat up a lot of times by the students that went to the school. And again, it didn't seem like anything was really being done about it. At home, the twins had even stopped talking to their parents, but they would talk to their younger sister, Rosie. And Rosie and the twins, they would spend hours in the twins' rooms playing with dolls, and they had a fantasy world inside this room. And whatever these little young girls would fantasize around that age, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is what they did inside this room. Now, the school had notified a psychologist who tried to get them to communicate with the other kids, but it just wasn't working. They barely communicated with anybody, let alone other children. Remember, they stopped speaking to their own parents. So in actuality, the authorities, they found this to be quite fascinating, that the way that these twins were. They did. The twins would walk one behind each other, almost like sitting ducks, and they would take long periods of times to even eat a meal. I actually saw a documentary that is on YouTube, and they had footage. They were secretly recording these twins. So they had footage of the way the girls were behaving, and it seemed quite bizarre if you were on the outside looking in. They even had showed the footage to June Gibbons, and she didn't even know that they were recorded, and she actually said, "Oh, we were playing a game. We were playing a game that day." So anything that these twins did, they found it fascinating. I hate to say this, but a lot of when white people come in contact with black people and they've never seen a black person or been around a black person, it's already fascinating to them. So now remind you, this is back in like the 60s. And so everything that these twins did were fascinating. So twins on a whole are fascinating. And then the black people that you've never came in contact with are fascinating. So now you have twins that are black. It was just overwhelming for the people that was associating with them. So they would be very slow eaters. It took them like forever to finish a meal during school. The school would decide to separate them and send them to separate boarding schools. This act would fail too. They wanted to try to do this to try to break their isolation, but it wouldn't. They were forced to be apart. And when they did, the twins equally became catatonic and withdrawn. So you had one twin over here and you had the other twin over there, and they was almost mimicking each other, and they didn't even know. They would be standing up against walls or being moved like they were almost, mannequin-like, just not saying or doing anything, to where they were forced to actually bring them back together. So now at home, the twins had even for some reason stopped talking to their little sister Rosie. And I actually saw an interview with Rosie, and she was still quite young in the interview, maybe in her early 20s, maybe at the time of the interview, maybe even younger than that. I'm not quite sure. But she said basically it was kind of devastating when they stopped talking to her because, she said that she liked playing with them. She liked being in the room with them. So she was actually devastated when her sisters had stopped talking to her. So when the twins were a little bit older, maybe young teenagers, maybe 14, 15, around that area, they were really starting to write. They actually taught themselves to write, and they loved reading, and they were gifted journals by their parents and diaries and stuff. So they were constantly writing. Their writing was very small and kind of together, and the sentences ran on, but they would constantly be writing in that room, if not reading, and they would write a lot of stories. A lot of the stories that they had written, they would send to publishing companies in the UK, and a lot of their work was denied. But they finally got an okay, and one of their stories was actually published. It's called Pepsi Addicts. And that story was actually published. So they were very happy with that. And they thought that, wow, we're going to be authors. So they would try to write again, but a lot of their work was denied. The twins had always placed their stories in America. I don't think that they've been to America, but they always placed their stories in America. And whoever the character was always on some kind of murderous spree or a murder behavior. The characters always had. They said a lot of the settings took place in California. I don't know if they went to California ever, but or they maybe had dreams of going there. But most of their stories had taken place in America, in Malibu, places like that. And a lot of their work was kind of a little on the scary side. I'll just put it that way. So it didn't. None of their work got published. Just Pepsi Cola Addict was published. So, and they had to pool their money to get that actually published. And off the top of my head, I think there was like 2 or 3 copies that was at a public library back then. And that was pretty much really it. It didn't really take off like the twins wanted it to take off. I do know that the girls went to court or something like that, where they was receiving, I'm just going to say, like we would call it in America, some kind of social security, SSI, because they, the medical field, the doctors and everyone they saw believed that they had some kind of mental defect. So they were getting some assistance. They call it something else in the United Kingdom, but they were getting assistance. So they were able to publish the book with the money that they was getting monthly from that. So they got bored with the lives of living inside. So they started to venture out. I think when their parents were asleep, they started to venture out, where they started to become not only thieves, where they stole computers and little things like that from the library and schools and stuff, but they became arsonists. They did. And they did get caught for becoming arsonists. I actually forgot how they got caught, but they did get caught for becoming arsonists, and they had to go to court, and they were given 30 years in Broadmoor Hospital. And to my knowledge, Broadmoor Hospital is like a hospital for the criminally insane, and some of Britain's most horrifying killers were hospitalized there, along with these little small black children, West Indian children, were there at the hospital. They begged the judge to not put them there, but that's where they went. They even wrote letters, I think they said, to the Queen, but that is where the twins was going to have to stay indefinitely. Now, a little bit before the twins was actually sent to this hospital, and while they was in this hospital, they would meet a investigator, a reporter, and her name was Marjorie Wallace. She would be the one to write the Silent Twins book. And she said she got to meet the twins and spend time with them. And they spoke with her and they talked to her. She said they were funny. She loved to see them. She got to go inside of the twins' room, allowed by their parents. And she was even able to get journals and stuff that the twins had. And she said she even went to visit the twins when they were in the hospital. So she became very close to the twins, and she liked them and they liked her. And it seems to be a great match, because it would help a lot, because that book is an awesome book, and it actually goes into the dynamics of everything. It really does. So now the twins are at this Broadmoor Hospital. They've been there for 12 years, and now they're able to go to a hospital with a less security facility. So that's where they were heading to go now. And they were excited about that, because at least they could go somewhere so they can go somewhere different. On the way to the lower security hospital, Jennifer felt sick. She wasn't feeling good at all. She put her head on her sister's shoulders. She just wasn't doing well. She would end up passing away. It was a lot going on back then. A lot of people said that they felt that the hospital had killed Jennifer. They didn't know why Jennifer died. Jennifer was only 29 years old. And if you go back into a lot of these diaries and journals and the things that the twin says, they always said that if one twin died, they made a pact that the other twin had to break the silent pact, and that they had to live a normal life. In a lot of the diaries, June felt like she was possessed by her sister Jennifer. She felt like Jennifer was controlling her life. In Jennifer's journals, she said that her sister's face was a face of misery. Now, that might be, wow, look at there, but come on. We've all written stuff like that, right? Haven't we? About our sister at the time, about our best friend at the time. We have. But of course, they're going to read probably a little more into this situation, because this situation was just very, very different. Very different, down to their so-called secret language that they found out. It was just English. It just had a West Indian accent to it, and they were just speaking extremely fast. But when they recorded them secretly and they slowed it down, they were just speaking English. Me and my girlfriends at the time, when we were younger, me and my son now, we actually have words that we made up when he was younger, and we still kind of say the stuff now, and he's grown, but we say it out of being funny. But everyone has a secret language. Get it, got it, get it. Everybody had a secret language when we were younger, right? Right? Most of us did. I think so. And again, their language wasn't even secret. It was just spoken extremely fast. Maybe they did change certain words. I did that with my friends a lot too, so that we can talk right in front of people and they didn't even know what we were saying, because we was using regular words to change them how we knew what those words were. So it was something like that. And remember, they had a lot of time together, so they had a lot of time to do this. So unfortunately, Jennifer did end up passing away and leaving June to herself. And I actually, not too long ago, and I watched it again, saw June do an interview where, she talks about a lot of stuff. She talks a lot in the interview. You could tell she still has an accident, maybe even a lisp, if you will. But you can understand her. And, she misses her sister a lot. At the time of the interview, I think she might have been in her early 30s, maybe. And she said she went every day to visit her sister's grave. And she feels like her sister is there with her to this day. It was so sad. So it was said that June was living her life, and she actually had a partner, and that she would do, odd jobs maybe around the town. Now, this was back when she was in her, like I said, her early 30s. She would do jobs, to make ends meet, and that she visited her parents often. So, she was actually living on her own, and she was, getting her life together. It's like she almost snapped out of it. It was as if she never had stopped talking to them. It's like she was speaking to them like in mid-sentence, like she never had stopped speaking to them all those years. Now, oh my goodness, I left so much of this story out, but I just wanted to say that it's just a book that I read. And it was so interesting. And everyone always says, oh, there should be a movie. Now, there was a movie that was out, or a play, a screenplay. I think it was actually called Screenplay 2 or something like that I had tried desperately to get. I actually went on Amazon UK, but I never could get a hold of the screenplay. They had it up, but I couldn't even make a purchase of it because the person selling it was like never on. Was never on or never getting the messages. I wasn't sure. And everybody says that there should be a movie, there should be a movie. And they've always said a movie's coming, but a movie had never came. And I even heard things like, yeah, they're going to probably wait until June passes away so they could pretty much do the movie how they want to do it. But no. A movie is actually coming out if you guys haven't seen already. And I actually put the link to the trailers in the description box. It's like several trailers, but it's coming out September 16th, and I definitely hope it is coming to America. I think it is. I hope so, but it's definitely coming out. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and it actually stars Letitia Wright in it. And if you guys saw Black Panther, she was the one that played Nakia, the little sister in Black Panther. So, oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see this movie. Hopefully June. Hopefully June had a big say in the movie. Well, she would have to, so that she can kindly say exactly what was going on, exactly what was happening. And she hopefully was very honest and candid in the movie. I mean, whenever I see her in interviews, she seems that way. Now, one of the guys who was her boyfriend or their boyfriend back in the day, one of the American Caucasian men that went to see them or had that little summer or whatever with the girls, he actually had got a copy of Pepsi Cola Addict. And he actually, I read on a comment, I believe it was him, he actually was saying they weren't like that. Like they weren't all weird and crazy and creepy like everyone was saying that they was. He was actually in defense of them. And that was a good thing. But I actually got a copy, I think it was from him, I'm not sure, but I actually have a copy of Pepsi Cola Addict. I have not read it yet. I cannot wait to read it. So much has been going on in my life right now, but I cannot wait to read it. If you guys are a big fan, a big fan of the Silent Twins, and you're interested in a copy of Pepsi Cola Addict, I can actually email you a copy. And this man, and thank you if he ever comes along this video, thank you again, he actually emailed me a copy of it, and I went to the library and I had to download it. It was many pages, but it was less than $2. And it's 10 cents for a page. So it's less than $2. And I got a copy, and this weekend I'm going to read it. So I'm going to do part 2 where I'll tell you how I like the story Pepsi Cola Addict. And definitely I'm going to go see the movie in September. So maybe there'll be a part 3 to this. Hopefully it's a part 4, because I always wanted to go visit London, and most definitely I would love to meet June Gibbons. I just would. I've always been obsessed with London. I don't know if I'm just obsessed with their accent, but I always wanted to go. I always did. And maybe one day I will get a chance to go, and maybe one day I will get a chance to see June Gibbons. And I even read about it. They said they welcome everybody. Just make sure you have enough money for your flat, because they don't want anyone coming over there and becoming homeless. And they said, whatever you do, don't make fun of their accent, or don't even try to even act like you can speak like them, because it's so annoying. They do not like that at all. Not at all. But anyway, I won't do that. if I went over there. But yeah, I really do. So that's just what I wanted to sum up, that the Silent Twins movie is coming out September 16th. Hopefully it's at a theater near me. And that if you guys are interested in looking at that book, Pepsi Cola Addict, just email me at darkideas@yahoo.com and just put in the description box, Pepsi Cola Addict. I want it. And I will definitely email you that. And thanks again. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm almost there. And do you know, oh my goodness, do you know, you guys, the Pakistani people actually took off my Quandel Balak video? They did. I guess because I was talking about the Muslim guy in the end that threw Quandel underneath the bus. I don't have the video anymore. I didn't think they were going to take it down, but I'll probably just do one still picture of her and just talk about her, because I can't believe they took it down. Yeah, they really do your girl really bad here on YouTube, but I'm sticking it out. I'm sticking it out. You see, I'm sticking it out. So thanks a lot again. Please subscribe. Please like. Help a sister out, okay? Thank you. And have a great night.